Favorite topic of conversation. Who's getting fired? Who's getting fired? So I put up here the names of teams that are off to slow or unexpectedly slow starts. And not every team is unexpectedly slow, but some are surprising. So who's under pressure, the coach or the GM? Well, let's start off with Arizona. They just hired a new coach, but they're winless. See, coaches normally have a decent shelf life when they're first hired, but a winless streak like this takes that off the table. I will say the coach is on the hot seat, the GM is not. For whatever reason, Arizona wants to rebuild itself and do it in a way that it doesn't work, and they want to stick to it. And the team keeps getting worse. It doesn't matter who it is. Anybody gets traded to Arizona, like Stepan and Hjalmarsson were supposed to help, their numbers aren't that great either. Montreal. Oh, the pressure's on the GM and the coach. You don't lose in Montreal and keep your head. You just don't. Montreal is a city that wants a winner and nothing else. I've talked about how Vancouver doesn't have the guts for a rebuild. Oh, Montreal won't go through a rebuild. No. There's no way. No way. So both coach and GM are under pressure because with Julian it's not working, and it's not working for guys who've worked in Montreal before. They've had good seasons, like Pacioretty has had 30-goal seasons under previous coaches. Julian, it's not working. Now, if they'll let Bergevin fire Julian, I think Bergevin will do it before let's say the Christmas break. If their record continues to be abysmal, yeah. The Rangers, pressure on the coach, yes. Vigneault, GM, Jeff Gorton, no. And that seems kind of odd to me, but I don't think there's any pressure on the GM with the Rangers. I think it's going to fall flatly on Vigneault. And there's a good chance that last night's 5-4 loss against Montreal could be one of those last things, and then they'll fire him. I don't think it's going to take him much longer. We'll put it that way. Winnipeg. Winnipeg is baffling and befuddling, but it doesn't feel like Cheveldayoff or Paul Maurice are under any pressure, and I'm not sure why. Winnipeg is supposed to get better, and yet when Winnipeg doesn't get better, they don't hold Paul Maurice to it. There was an interesting stat I read in an article today on the Hockey News website that Paul Maurice is in his 20th season as a coach. He's made the playoffs 5 times. Now, it's not his fault he's coached bad teams, but you think about it, you really think about it, that's not a good track record. And if you're going to have a winner and you're going to turn it around, maybe Winnipeg should consider changing coaches. And maybe, just maybe, Cheveldayoff's will wait attitude isn't paying off yet. Now, right now they're in a half-decent position. But if they lose a few here, like I'm looking at tonight's game at home against Pittsburgh, there should be pressure somewhere. Edmonton, they're up here because they're underachieving, but I don't see pressure on the coach, nor do I see pressure on the GM. Should there be? Maybe. The Strome-Eberle gaffe is huge. Now, I will say this. I will say this in defense of Peter Chiarelli. And I've defended the guy before, probably to the detriment of my channel. But at the time, Eberle didn't have a large trade value. And it looked like it was a value trade. That Strome would get better in Edmonton, and Eberle had fallen off the map in Edmonton in terms of his playoff performance. And that's what people remembered. Eberle's playing great with the Islanders. So Eberle could come back to haunt Edmonton's brain trust in a big way. Calgary. So the Flames were supposed to be in a contending position. There's no pressure on Tree Living. He's not going anywhere. I don't think there's pressure on Gulutzan yet. Another 12 games from now, if they're still below 500 and if they're starting to fade from playoff contention, Gulutzan might be the easy out. Again, firing a coach is just the easy out. And it works a lot of the time. That's the other part. It's not just that it's easy. It works. Look at the amount of teams that changed coaches last year. The only team that didn't turn it around under a new coach was Florida. And it was because of the way Florida did it, and they actually fired a very popular coach in Gerard Gallant. Otherwise, I think Florida would have done better. Buffalo's interesting. So they just got their GM and coach. But isn't somebody responsible for Buffalo's slow start? Is this a matter of Jason Botterill inherited a bad team, so they're just going to wait on it? How is this going to work out? How long does Housley keep his job? There are plenty of coaches who stay in the league for a year and then they're out. Be interesting. Blashill with Detroit, I think so. Holland, no. Although, for Detroit, Ken Holland should absolutely be on the clock. It's Holland that screwed up the cap space, that's giving guys too much money and too much term. It's Holland that's treated the team like they need to retool and they needed to rebuild. And it's ultimately Holland that's given Blashill this roster. But I think with the ugliness of that 6-game winning streak, or 6-game losing streak, and then if they're not able to turn it around from here, I absolutely think Blashill's on the clock. So let's see, I got 4 coaches here that I think are on the clock. In terms of you might get fired. So you've got Detroit, Rangers, Montreal, Arizona. The first one to get fired for me is Vigneault. It's the easiest. Everybody's calling for his head. Everybody. Second is Arizona. Because whether it's midway through this year or at the end of this year, I don't see Tocchet surviving this start. Unless they go on this incredible run, I don't see Tocchet surviving this start to the season. I would say Blashill third and Julian fourth. Because I think Julian is going to be given every chance to coach Montreal out of this funk. Even though it didn't work for him in Montreal a whole lot better the first time around. I remember when he got fired from Montreal the first time around, and I thought he was done in the NHL at that point. But, he made history with the Bruins after that. Now, in terms of GMs, yeah, there's only one. The only GM that I think's actually in trouble right now is Marc Bergevin. And I know the ownership team has said, no, we have full faith in Marc Bergevin. Okay, everybody says that. Everybody says that. What are they going to say? I've said this before. What are you going to say? Do you have confidence in so-and-so? No. He's your coach, though. No more questions. A GM isn't going to say he doesn't have faith in his coach. An owner isn't going to say he doesn't have faith in his GM. You're cutting them off at the knees if you do that. You're leaving them in a position where they're a dead man walking. For my money, I think the Rangers probably replace their coach midway through this year if they don't turn it around. And Arizona midway through the year, too. I honestly think that's how it's going to go down. And in terms of dark horses, Carolina could switch coaches if they start going to tailspin. So I should put like dark horses. Probably Carolina. Look at the board. Washington if they start going into another tailspin. These are coaches where they're not in trouble right now. But if the team starts that dip, all bets are off. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So, I think any other coach in the league is safe. Based either on record or on the fact that even though the team's record is kind of poor, he's got that trust from the GM, or that GM has that trust from ownership. And in terms of GMs, I'm not going to rate the team, I'm going to rate the name, Joe Sakic. Colorado falls off the rails. Keep an eye on Sakic. I don't know how long you can go watching Colorado kind of And after last year where they had the nosedive, and now there's uncertainty still there. I think Sakic could be gone before the end of the year. If Colorado starts playing like Arizona is right now, I could see them getting rid of him. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, though. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and thank you so much for watching as I dissect which coaches and which GMs might have to file for unemployment sooner rather than later. Am I going to be right? Nah, it'll probably be Ken Hitchcock in Dallas or something weird and wacky like that. But let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.